viewers, and welcome back to another What If video. My name is Virpia, and as always, it is great to have you. Today's topic is what if an employee breaches a rule or standard? How do we determine whether we are dealing with misconduct or incapacity? Now, it is important to distinguish between misconduct and incapacity, both for legal as well as practical reasons. Legally, the Labour Relations Act requires different forms of corrective action to deal with conduct and capacity-related problems. Practically, however, dealing with a capacity-related problem as if it is a disciplinary issue will not solve the problem, as the former involves something that is largely out of the employee's control. For example, warning an employee who is not capable of doing their job is not going to help if the employee is simply not capable. But by the same token, taking a soft approach by referring a thief to counseling instead of taking disciplinary action is also inappropriate and unjustified. Now, poor performance as a form of incapacity refers to those cases where the employee does not meet the minimum job requirements because he or she is not able to. In other words, the employee's performance is unsatisfactory. This is different from misconduct because misconduct involves situations where the employee is able to comply with the employer's performance or conduct requirements, but either deliberately or through sheer neglect or maybe carelessness fails to do so. Now, although incompetence is not a disciplinary transgression and does not in fact require disciplinary warnings, the process is still accompanied by incapacity warnings. It is important that the employee is made aware that the continuation of his or her employment contract is in danger if the required standards are not met within a reasonable time. The employee must be told this expressly as part of the process, and a record must be kept of this. These warnings, in other words, these incapacity warnings, typically do not have an expiry date, as in the case with your normal disciplinary warnings, but the employee is still warned that a failure to improve within a set period could result in dismissal. Now, if we look at the difference between misconduct and incapacity, we can summarize it as follows. Misconduct would involve a situation or involves a situation where an employee who is able to comply with the employer's rules refuses or neglects to do so. In other words, the employee is at fault. There is a fault element. The employer must therefore have proof that the employee acted intentionally, for example, assault or dishonesty, or that the employee acted negligently. In other words, he or she knew what to do but failed to do or failed to exercise reasonable care in the circumstances. In the case of poor performance, the employee is willing to do what is required but is unable to do so. For example, because of illness, personal problems, a lack of training, a lack of capacity, and so on. Because the employee who commits misconduct is able to do what is required, it is normally enough for the employer to put the ball in the employee's court, so to speak, by issuing a warning or series of warnings and then expecting the employee to comply with those without any further assistance from the employer. However, in the case of poor performance, the employee is unable to comply with the employer's requirements and therefore needs the employer not merely to warn or a warning to improve, but actively assist the employee to reach or comply with this performance standard. Seen in this way, performance counseling is a collaborative process of joint problem solving that should precede dismissal. Dismissal in a case of incapacity becomes last resort. If we look at misconduct, then we are dealing with a workplace rule that has been broken. It can also be a standard that's not been achieved, but there must be an element of fault. So you need proof that the employee is at fault. Incapacity, however, is a situation where the employee is willing to but is unable to meet the requirements. If we look at some practical examples, let's say an employee arrives at work under the influence of alcohol. If we only look at that set of facts, it is a case of misconduct. You have a rule in place that prohibits an employee from entering the workplace or reporting for duty or being under the influence of alcohol. However, if the employee can prove or the employee states that he or she has dependency issues, it may be treated as a case of incapacity rather than misconduct. If we look at an example where the employee, despite having received training, struggles to master a new computer program, we are dealing with a case of incapacity, not misconduct, specifically incapacity, poor performance. If we assume that this employee who initially struggled to master the computer program is eventually retrained and from then on does her job fairly well, if there is then an accident or an incident that occurs where she accidentally deletes critical company information, which IT is not able to recover, then we're no longer dealing with a case of poor performance or incapacity, we're dealing with a case of misconduct. Ladies and gentlemen, or viewers, thank you again for your time today. That then brings us to the end of this What If video. I hope that the difference between misconduct and incapacity is now more clear. If you have any questions in this regard, as always, do not hesitate to contact us. I will then see you next time. Bye-bye.